Hi, my name's Nick Paris and I'm going to take you through what you get when you order an iSpeed 5. We'll just give you a quick overview of what's in the case. And so we open up, all cameras come with a Pelly case with a dedicated foam, and this is the camera here. We're going to walk over this camera in just a moment, but first of all let me show you what's in the case. So essentially the case has all the accessories that you need to run the camera. Everything there is provided. So we have the power supply, and this allows you to run on AC, and so then provides the DC requirement for the camera. You can run it yourself on DC, but you would need a custom connection, and the camera runs on a wide range of DC input. The other cables that come with the camera are this cable here, which is an I/O connection, which allows you to get access to the GPIO. That's a great feature within this camera, and so that's the GPIO cable. We have the trigger BNC and pickle switch, and so that allows you to trigger the camera appropriately. Then we have obviously your local AC lead here. This is specific to your country, and so that will then be used with the power supply. And then in this bag here we have a 3 meter Ethernet connection and HDMI lead, so as you can connect your HDMI connection out to a large monitor. So everything you need in terms of cables. So let's talk a little bit more about the other items, which is the methods of control. And so what we've got here is all of the software pack that comes with your camera, and so this is nicely set out. It's got a thank you card to explain what's in your system. It then comes with a getting started guide, and the getting started guide literally is just a few steps to get you up and running. So connect to the camera, make a recording, make a save. Both methods of control, PC and the touchscreen control unit. What you'll also find in this pack is the software licenses and dongles. We have here a USB stick that allows you to download the software from our website, the latest version, and then that'll allow you to install that onto your computer. This particular pack has a pro version of the software, the multi-DAC software, and that's actually licensed with this USB key, so you can then plug that in and you'll get the higher level version of our software. And then alongside that comes the Pro Analyst license, and this is an amazing extra with these cameras, is that you actually get a introductory version of Pro Analyst, and this is a really powerful tool for analysing your videos. So all your software is in this pack. You can see on the back what versions you've been licensed to, etc. And then we provide a Pro Analyst user guide for you to then learn and get your way into using Pro Analyst. So that's the PC side of things, and we can control the camera via the Ethernet using PC software. But also we've got an option which is the controller display unit, and so this is a touchscreen custom software. It's got a stand on the back so you can stand it up, and this is a really nice quick user interface, easy to use, very mobile. So this is a great option for those people wanting slightly more mobility. So that's really gone through what's in the case, and so everything you need is in that case. And so now let me take you through the camera itself. Okay, so let's walk you round the camera and talk about each of the features in turn. At the front of the camera here we have a removable lens mount that allow you to choose the choice of lens you want to use on this camera. We have this one here, which is a Nikon F. We have another lens mount that's a Canon EF mount, and then we also have a C mount. So let's just talk around each of those lens mounts. This one here, as I said, is the Nikon F. You can just mount a standard SLR lens to the front of this mount here with the release lever, and That allows you to use the wide range of Nikon lenses out there that are available today. Some of those lenses, ideally you would pick one with a manual aperture control ring, but many of those lenses do not have the ring anymore. And so we've also got this aperture control here that allows you to control that lens aperture, you know, with this control. So you can use a wide range of Nikon lenses. This particular mount also comes with a mechanical shutter, so that's an option. So you can have this mount with or without the mechanical shutter. And the mechanical shutter is really good for keeping the lens, the sensor clean, and also for environments where there's high power lasers and you need to ensure that you don't get sensor burn when lasers are being set up and there may be a stray laser. So this allows protection for the sensor during those environments. The other mount that we've got is the Canon EF, and it would bolt on in the same position. You can use it, exchange it, and that allows remote operation via the actual software control. So the lens comes out, plugs into the USB of the camera, and then we can control the aperture and the focus of the Canon EF remotely. And so that allows you to then use that lens and control that lens in distant operations like ranges or test cells or where the camera is unreachable. And then finally, a third lens mount is the C mount, and that allows you to use high magnification optics or put it onto a microscope or use it with a borescope adapter. So the C mount is useful. Because the C mount is made for much smaller sensors, it will occlude the lens slightly, the sensor slightly, but it's still an option. If we now move to the side of the camera, you'll now see that it's got two inlets here, and this is an active cooling system that flows over a radiator based cooling, so not over electronics but actually over radiators. And so this camera in a cold environment will have very low fan speed, and as that environment goes right the way up to a high temperature, these will increase in speed as necessary to keep the camera cool. So active cooling. We can now rotate to the rear of the camera, and we can see here a vast array of connections and interconnects. We've got quite a small form factor for this performance of product, but we've crammed in as many connections as possible. So here you'll see the power inlet connector. This is a wide-ranging DC. Of course, we provide the AC to DC power supply for this connector, but you can use your own DC input from battery packs or whatever's necessary. Then moving on, we have the video output section of the camera. This is a HD SDI outputting full HD at 1920 by 1080. And this is a HDMI outputting 1920 by 1080 as well. So the nice thing here is that not only can you see the video on the PC software or the touchscreen controller, but you can also output this to a large TV to put on the outside of a test cell or something similar. So you can see a large high resolution image of what's going on. In the centre here we've got 1 GB connection, Ethernet connection. And that allows full control and, if you wish, download to the controlling device, in this case a laptop or a tablet. And then we've also got USB 3 for convenience of saving to a USB stick or a hard drive or a memory card, whatever you wish. We've also got a ruggedized connector which we'll detail in a future update. And then on the far right hand side of the camera here we have the I/O for the camera, and so we've got multiple dedicated I/O here with then some more GPIO in this connection here. At the top we've got a dedicated trigger input. This allows you to trigger the buffer within the camera at the appropriate percentage you select. We've then got the next B and C is the sync in or sync out, allowing you to synchronize multiple cameras or synchronize to external equipment or synchronize to lighting. And so this is a very good connection to have. And then the final connection at the bottom here is our exposure output. We often use this for LED lighting or lasers, and that allows you to then have separate control from synchronization to your lighting, and so we can switch this on and off with record, etc. So some great interconnects there for your application. Moving to this area here, we've got the XSSD door, and this allows us to secure inside the camera, protected, the XSSD, and so these are up to 2 terabytes worth of storage. You then record into the camera's memory and then offload to a non-volatile memory card like this. So nice and integrated, all protected behind that door. If we move up, we've got a power connection, power switch here. This is used to power on the camera, but we can also have a remote power on via this connector here as well. So if your camera's in a high position or a remote location, you can send a signal to this to power on and off the camera. On the top of the camera now is a battery module, and so this battery module is an option. You can have the camera with the handle just mounted to the camera and no battery, or in this case you can have the battery module actually inserted in here, user exchangeable, and this allows you to have 1 hour of full operation. To be clear, this isn't just memory backup like some other systems do. This is full operation for 1 hour, so a really nice feature. Even if the power fails on here and you're in the middle of a recording, it automatically switches to the battery backup without losing a single frame. So it's an incredibly good switchover system. And then on the top we have a handle that allows you to carry the camera, but then if it's in the way you can use the thumb screws to remove the handle and have a much lower height profile. So all in all, a very good package. Let's look at the bottom of this and the tripod connections. And so at the bottom here you'll see 3 tripod connections. One is a forward position 3/8 fixing, which allows the balance to be corrected if you've got a large lens on the front of the camera. We've got a central balance point with a 1/4-20 connection for a standard tripod fitting, and then we've got a 3/8 fitting nearby for when you've got small lens on the front. This is nearer the centre of gravity, so you've got 3 strong fittings there for a tripod interface. So that really gives you an overview of this camera and how the benefits will help you out in your application and use of it. So really the great thing about this is it's a 2 megapixel sensor, and so we're allowing you to record for 1920 by 1080 up to 6,500 frames, and then obviously, as with all cameras, we reduce the resolution down as we go up to the maximum frequency of 1 million frames per second. So, you know, compared to other cameras in this range, you'll find 1 megapixel cameras. You know, there may be 1024 by 1024, or they're 1280 by 800 or something similar. This camera has twice the resolution of those cameras, and so it's a real helpful feature for your analysis and getting the detail into things like correlation and PIV and DIC analysis. So a very powerful high resolution camera. So really what I want to do is now go through the software, and there's 2 ways of controlling it, as we've mentioned before. One is with the PC software, and that really allows you to open up the software. You'll use the Connect tab to connect to the camera, and then you'll move to the Settings tab, where you'll now set the frame rate, the exposure, the trigger position, and all the other settings you require. You can make your recording. You can then go to the Review tab and press Playback, select the area that you want to save, and then go on and save the video using that PC software. You can save that video to the local hard drive, to USB hard drive, to a network location, wherever you wish. So very universal and fits all of the people's requirements. The second way of controlling this camera is via the touchscreen, And the touchscreen again takes you through the same kind of flow. It actually allows you to connect to the camera, set it up with the touchscreen so you can scroll through speed, scroll through shutter times, and then you can ensure that your settings are correct just very easily, much more like your phone where you scroll and you touch. Again, you then review. Scrolling through a lot of video with your finger is just nice and natural, and then you can then hit the save button and actually save the video down to your XSSD using the camera touchscreen. So then let's just go through some of the final things regarding this camera. So when you first consider buying the camera, one of your decisions should be, do you want a monochrome or a colour sensor? Now, a monochrome sensor will give you a much higher sensitivity, whereas a colour sensor will obviously use a Bayer pattern to then give you colour, and therefore the sensitivity is a little bit lower. So consider whether you want monochrome or colour. Another option is the internal memory. So because this camera records so very quickly, we record to internal RAM, and that RAM can be anywhere between 18 gigabytes, representing about 1 second of record time, right the way to 144 seconds, giving around 10 seconds worth of record time. So you need to decide what memory you want at time of purchase. If later on, after you've purchased the camera, you wish to increase the memory within the camera, you can do so, but obviously it's more cost effective to do it at time of purchase. And then one of the other things I want to touch just before we round up here is the exposure time. As standard, this camera ships with a 1 microsecond exposure limit, and that's because of export controls, etc. But you can actually choose to run a short shutter, an ultra high speed shutter, down to 277 nanoseconds. And so that represents a really short shutter time, really good for high speed events. So that kind of summarises the overview. You've seen what comes in the case, you've seen around the camera. If you have any questions, please contact us at ixcameras.com and we'll help you best we can. Thanks very much. Bye.